Hey guys, Eric and Kim here. We are going to review Halloween Kills, which is the sequel to 2018's Halloween, which was a sequel to 1978's Halloween. Not to be confused with the one that Rob Zombie made in the middle, also called Halloween. These titles are confusing. Let me do a quick summary here or setup here. This will be a non-spoiler review before we get into our thoughts. This movie picks up right where the 2018 movie left off. Shades of Halloween 2 in 1981, which did the same thing. It's the same night, and we just continue on right away. Laurie Strode set that fire to destroy Michael Myers, but guess what? It didn't quite work out, or there wouldn't be a sequel. And Michael gets out. He is back on his rampage, continuing across Haddonfield. Laurie is being taken to the hospital because she got a pretty nasty wound in that last movie. And meanwhile, a group of survivors from the 1978 incident, characters we met in that first movie, are all together at a bar when they hear what's happened, and led by Tommy Doyle, who was the little boy in the first one, now played by Anthony Michael Hall as an adult here. They decide to take matters into their own hands to basically stop Michael Myers once and for all. So they are out looking for him. Michael is out killing people. And that is where we go in Halloween Kills. Kim, what are your overall thoughts on this movie?
I mean, overall, I had a problem with the tone, so I felt it was off tonally. It lent quite heavily into humor and kind of self-aware humor, and ultimately, for me, it was a big letdown after the invention and promise of the previous film, which made sense to me, that film, to make it the way it did, revisiting Laurie and her psychology and how the trauma has affected her. And this kind of doesn't go much deeper into it.
Yeah, I enjoyed this movie, but not on the level I wanted to, because it is a notable step down from that 2018 movie, which I just rewatched before I went to see this one, and I think is pretty great. I really dug that movie. This one, yeah, it's more of it's a silly, fun slasher movie, and I think you can enjoy it on that level, but you do feel like, yeah, this just isn't as cohesive as the last one. I do think that tonally, I didn't mind the humor as much, but I just think that sometimes they were going for some things that didn't quite work. We can talk a little bit more about sort of some of the themes of the movie and what they're getting to. There's definitely a big, major sort of important subplot to the movie about sort of mob justice and this idea of what's happening with this group Tommy's getting together, where I appreciated that as a concept. I don't think they really nailed it conceptually, that there are some things, some dialogue that just comes off as cheesy. And so there's some cool kills in this, if like on that level, right? There's some gory, cool kills, and I've seen it twice. And when I saw it the second time, I think I was able to enjoy it a little more because I knew what I was getting. But I do think, it's too bad they couldn't continue what they had in that first one, which was a lot sort of stronger and felt more fully formed as a movie.
Yeah, and I agree totally. Some of those kills were great. I love seeing gore on screen. Some of them are classic kind of, you may have seen them before, but it's always good to see. I'm not going to spoil any of these kills for anybody, right. But it's good to see some classic kind of kills, but also some new inventive ones. And actually, some of the humorous moments were funny and good enough. I just don't think they fit in this film and probably the Halloween franchise. And some of I felt that the style of humor they went for kind of worked against the scarier moments or the more serious moments in this film.
Talking about some other sort of highlights for me, I will say, as a big fan of this franchise, I definitely enjoyed, the continuity here is strong. Not only do they have all these characters from the original movie come back, many of them played by the original actors, but they also bring back everyone from the 2018 movie, not just all the sort of named main characters, but there's like a couple dressed as a doctor and a nurse who you saw for, I don't know, 30 seconds in that last movie, who are suddenly kind of part of the story here. And I really enjoyed that, right? As far as like a fully formed idea of this town and these people, lots of fun stuff there. We were talking about, some of the kills are really fun. And I actually think that, I really want to applaud David Gordon Green on a lot of his visuals. There's like some pretty cool ones. There's a part where Michael is killing someone in the background and he's out of focus. Well, we've got someone else who's sort of having to witness this situation up front, and that's who we're focusing on. And I actually thought that was kind of cool and clever how they did that. And I enjoyed how Michael is definitely a force of nature in this movie. I know that's kind of always going to be an argued point, like, oh, are they veering him too into Jason territory as far as like his strength and what he can do? But I still think he is so like primal in this movie that he still seems unique to himself in a different way than Jason. Anything else sort of jump out to you as sort of like something you enjoyed particularly about the movie?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed Michael Myers in it as well. I'm always happy to see Michael, and some of those moments where well, we got a lot of them, the head tilt after he's taking in what he's just done and kind of enjoying it a little bit, nice. And there was two scenes in particular. There's a couple in a house that I'm trying not to spoil things. And I really enjoyed those two as characters, and I felt that they got the tone right with those two. No, it wasn't over the top spoofy. They were just kind of eccentric characters that we like. And it was lovely to get peripheral characters like that sometimes when the film gets it right. And then there were children at the moment that on a swing with two children. Great. Also gets the balance right.
I have joked a lot with my friends about how the children of Haddonfield are really crappy throughout these movies. In the original, they're, teasing Tommy, boogeyman's gonna get you, boogeyman's gonna get you. In Halloween 4, they're screaming at the little girl, Jamie's an orphan. And this movie continues the proud tradition of Haddonfield being filled with a lot of really crappy little kids in a funny way. And I also want to, by the way, mention that with all the returning actors, I was very entertained by Kyle Richards returning as Lindsay, the little girl from the original. It is very funny that Kyle Richards comes into this movie, for some people, the most notable celebrity, because she's been on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills since it began. But her history goes back to Halloween in 1978, and I enjoyed having her return to that role. Let's talk about some of the lowlights, though. A little more things that didn't work. First of all, love Jamie Lee Curtis. She's great in this. Again, I wanted her to be in more of it. I don't think it's a spoiler to say it's just part of the movie that she is not in this movie as much as the last one. She still has some big scenes, but the plot dictates that she is not as central to the action in this movie. And I know there's another movie coming. They announced that going in, but it still felt like, a big pull here, a big, appeal is that, Jamie Lee Curtis back as Laurie, would have liked more of her. And then also we talked about this a little bit, but it's like the whole thing with like the mob justice thing. I like conceptually what they're doing with it, and sort of like how this becomes another threat. They want to stop Michael, but they're sort of out of control and they're taking the law into their own hands. But yeah, some of it works, but some of it doesn't. Some of it, just the way it lands, is kind of cheesy. There is a line repeated over and over and over again that is just kind of like, again, it's pulling from the history of the series and a certain character who once said that line, but does not really, work for the most part, unfortunately. I wanted it to work, but I just didn't think it did. What do you think of those aspects of the film?
I completely agree with everything you said there. The essentially Laurie was fridged in this film, and with the mob justice thing, I think I've noticed this a little bit in other things. And the most recent thing is Midnight Mass, which was a great series, but this tendency to foreground these themes and really spell out and talk about, include it in the dialogue about what they are getting at here. So we are, it's not open to interpretation. It's not subtle there for us to discuss amongst ourselves. And that's a shame, because one of the strengths of horror movies in particular is all of the subtext, all of the stuff that's not said. But it is very much said in this film.
Yeah, there is as an aside, I wanted to say, just for anyone's concerned about your use of the term fridging, I'd say she's sidelined here, not
Yeah,
not
okay,
not
yeah.
in the direct way. But yeah,
No.
I totally agree with what you're saying, because they hold your hand a little too much, and this also stuck out to me whenever there's a lot of flashbacks to like there's some recreation, there's some actually kind of cool stuff where they recreate 1978, but there's also direct flashbacks from both the 78 film and the 2018 film. And especially when they're doing flashbacks to the things from the 2018 movie, I'm like, guys, I understand maybe from the original, you think for younger audiences, we need to tell them and show them. But this is the sequel to a movie you made a couple of years ago. I know it got delayed 1 year because of COVID. I don't think you need to like overly explain and re-show all these things. And I felt like, yeah, there was a little bit too much hand-holding, a little too much concern the audience wouldn't be able to get both the message of what they were doing, and also sometimes just like the callbacks. And I kind of wish they'd let it play out a little more naturally, you know. In the midst of that, by the way, like I said, it's like when I saw it that second time, I was more just like, okay, this is a fun, silly slasher movie, but it just felt like there was a different version of this that could have landed these things more. What are your sort of final thoughts here, Kim, overall looking at this movie?
Yeah, final thoughts are that the kills are very enjoyable. Some of them I wish in typical slasher movie form, though, they're kind of done and dusted, but I like a long drawn out, I make myself sound very sick sometimes, a long drawn out screen death. I would have liked some more of those, but on the whole, worth watching for those, and Michael Myers, but tone is off for me, and the way the messages are delivered.
It's a weird series, right? Because they keep rewriting history and retconning, and there's multiple timelines now and multiple fates for Laurie Strode. So this is, the third movie in this timeline, with another one coming, but it's the 12th Halloween movie. It's a middle of the road Halloween movie in that respect for me, because this is better than many of them, right? I think it's better than Resurrection, Halloween 5, and both of the Rob Zombie movies, but there's also several that are better than it. I am still excited for the third one of this new trilogy. Halloween Ends next year, but I did ultimately feel that this movie felt like it wasn't as consequential as it could have been. That it almost felt, I was talking to some people afterwards, like, man, you could have almost truncated this movie into like an opening 20-25 minutes of the next one. It almost felt like, well, we want to make this 3 movies, so this one, not as much will happen. I mean, there'll be a lot of kills and some of them will be pretty cool, but it doesn't feel as sort of story wise, except for a couple things that again probably could have all been put into the beginning of the next movie. So taking it on that level, yeah, it's like Michael Myers is back, and he's cool still, and he's cool kills, and I like having Laurie back. I wish she had more to do, but yeah, it's more of like it feels a lot like Halloween 2 to me, the 1981 Halloween 2, in that it's like, okay, it's more some fun stuff, but it's not getting that vibe, that feel that last one did overall. What would you give this rating wise, Kim?
For me, it's a 2 stars.
I waffled on this back and forth. I knew it was in the 2.5 arena. I'm giving it a 3, but I know I'm being generous. And if I hadn't seen it the second time, I probably wouldn't again the 3. But I am leaning towards the, like, if you go on its own level of like, okay, this will just be like a fun slasher movie, even though it could have been something more. So understand where you're coming from as well. So those were our thoughts on Halloween Kills. There'll be another one next year for us to talk about. But thanks for checking out this review, guys. We'll have plenty more here at Fandom.